All right. It is March 23rd. This is Doug Stout. I'm here with Bill Comisford. I assume it's William Comisford.
William.
What's your middle initial, Bill? Your middle initial?
D.
Okay. What's your birth date?
December 17th, 1928.
Okay. And then, were you born here in New York?
Born in Newark.
Okay. So have you always lived here?
Oh, except for a few years out of town.
Okay. All right. So what years were you in the service?
In 1951 to 55.
And did you Go ahead.
Actually, I got discharged in 56.
Okay. Did you enlist?
I enlisted.
Okay. So you went to Newark High School?
Graduated from Newark High School.
What year?
1947.
What'd you do between 47 and when you went in the service?
I worked at Westinghouse for a while.
Okay.
That was about it. Worked at Westinghouse, Newark Stove off of one on.
Just trying to figure out what you wanted to do?
No, I pretty much knew what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Really.
What was that? What'd you want to do when you got out of school?
Really, I hadn't really made my mind up really what I wanted to do, but like I said, it was just one of those things you graduate and kind of float around in.
Right. So then you decided you enlisted in the service?
I had a buddy of mine, we enlisted.
Boy, that's a common thread. Did the buddy talk you into it, or did you talk the buddy?
No, we were both married at the time the war started.
Okay.
And I was going to go in the Marine Corps. He was going to go in the Navy. We went together, went in the Air Force. Never seen one another again.
You split the difference.
That's exactly what we did.
So you went in the Air Force. Did you even take basic together?
We went to basic together, and then we separated. And I never seen him again until we both were discharged.
So where'd you take your basic at?
Sampson, New York.
Okay. And did they give you special training there, or was that just your basic?
No, that was just basic. Then I went to Camp Fort Gordon, Georgia for air police training.
Okay.
And then from there I went to California.
What's air police training?
Military.
Okay.
Just military.
So it's just Air Force and then military
they just called it
okay.
Air Police instead of military police.
Okay, for some reason you say Air Police, I'm thinking you're up in the sky policing people.
No, it was just like military.
Like an MP?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you went to California?
Went to California.
Did you pick to be a military police, or is that something they gave you a test on and they said this
No,
looks
they
good?
gave you about 9 tests and they picked your best. Well, they really don't pick your best. Because if they had picked the best, I wouldn't have been a military police.
What would you have been, do you know?
I'd have probably been in somewhere engineering radio.
Okay.
They pick what is needed.
They just let you think you've got to say it.
A buddy of mine, he ended up in supply.
Okay.
So they just picked you where you're needed.
All right. Did you mind when you heard that they were going to pick you for military
No,
police?
it didn't bother me any.
Okay.
It didn't bother me any. Like I said, because I went to California, took Joey with me. We were married at the time.
Right.
And that's about got out there, was assigned to a squadron, and after a while, they had 2 squadrons. They had the 106th Air Base Group, the 22nd, which was pretty active in Korea at that time. Mm-hmm. And then they combined us into one group, into the 807th.
Okay.
And then after that, I was actually assigned to what they call a Special Weapons Project, and we were attached to the Atomic Energy Commission.
Okay.
Went into top secret. It was top secret. Never knew what happened.
What base was that at?
March Air Force Base.
Okay, is that where you were the whole time then, even when you merged?
No, I was there that was my main station,
Okay.
but we did TDYs like North Africa and England, different places like that.
Okay, explain to me what a TDY is.
Temporary duty.
Thank you. So you went to North Africa?
Went to North Africa, went to England, different bases, like went to Limestone for a little bit. You just go maybe for anywhere from 9 days to 3-4 months.
So what did you think of those other countries like North Africa? And did you get a chance to go around?
It's just about like it is today.
Is it?
It is. They have no respect for anything.
Which one of those?
I was actually in French Morocco.
Okay. Which one of those countries did you like being in the best? England or North Africa or?
I didn't really like either one of them.
Didn't you?
No, England back then, they were kind of nasty to you.
Really?
Yeah, so depending on where you was at.
Even though we saved their butts in two
Yeah,
wars.
but some places they were actually nasty to you, and some places were real nice. But
Right.
like I said, just depending on where you was at.
Huh.
And North Africa, you never knew what they was thinking about you because you couldn't understand them most of the time. So, but that's about it.
Okay. So when you were in England, where were you? I mean, it was.
Bryce Norton. Bryce Norton and City Samain down in North Africa.
Could you still see any effects from World War II at either place?
Not really that much.
They pretty much cleaned it up. I mean,
Yeah.
it hadn't been that long after the war, but
Yeah.
still.
England, you might have seen a few things, but North Africa, you didn't see. North Africa was a mess anyway,
Yeah.
actually.
Was there any talk that you'd end up over in Korea, or
Pardon?
Was there any talk that you would end up doing any duty in Korea, or when you were in, did you ever think you were going to go to Korea?
You never knew for sure.
Okay.
We weren't going to go to Korea. Our planes did. We had 22nd bomb wing when I first went in. That's where I was stationed at the Air Police. Our bomb wing did about 3 months of the biggest bombing in North Africa.
Okay.
But we didn't go with them, and they didn't go right in North Africa. They went to a base, then they'd fly in.
Yeah, from South Korea to
Yeah.
North Korea.
No, they didn't go to. I got a letter.
Okay.
They didn't actually go. I can't think of an island down there they'd land on
Okay.
and did a lot of their port from.
Okay.
But most of the planes would go in, but go along for guard. I never went along, but they might go along for security.
But you never had.
Actually, I was in security most of the time I was in. Instead of air police, I was actually in security.
What's the difference between air police and security?
Air police mainly took care of the base, like the main part of the base.
Okay.
Security, we took care of the flight line and the planes.
Okay.
Yeah, just like when I was assigned to this one special outfit, we actually took care of the bomb dump, and the atomic energy commission was out there too, and that's where most of our security was.
Right.
To tell you what it's about, I tried to find out, and I can't even. I got a letter in there.
You want it?
Yeah, I'll show that to him. Just show him something interesting. Since I've been out, I've been trying to find stuff on the 807th Air Police Squadron.
Right.
It doesn't exist. Now that's what I was in.
Right.
Actually, I'll show you something very interesting. Of course,
Okay.
this is military. I got a letter here somewhere. I didn't bring everything set. Didn't bring the letter.
Might be in here.
Yeah, you brought the letter, didn't you?
He was just holding it out on you.
This is a letter I got back from him. Tell me about the 807 Police Squadron. It gives you an unclassified days of part of it was unclassified. They gave me information from June 16th, 1952 to June 30th.
Okay. So about 15 days.
That's all they gave me. The rest of it still must be classified.
Isn't that something? After all these years? So did you write to Washington for this, or?
Actually, Bill, you can see it tells you on here where it went to. We was on we was on the internet one day, and he sent that. And I don't know, it was a few months later, or a month later, I got this information from him.
And it talks in here about the merging of the two air police squadrons, too.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
There's a nice little letter that I got over the internet.
There were no results matched. Like you did never even existed.
Uh-huh.
Like you never even existed.
Uh-huh. And there's a letter pretty much telling you on the bombing of the 22nd Arab bomb wing that did the bombing in Korea.
For 4 months, it says. Was that a nice base out there in California to be at?
Oh yeah. Well, it actually was it was inactive, and then when the war came, Korea, they reactivated. Now it's down to nothing but a reserve base.
Really?
It's nothing now. It's down to practically they did away with a lot of bases.
Oh yeah. All right, so you were in there, and so is that where you decided you liked police work?
No.
When did you decide you liked police work?
Well, when I came back home, I had a job at Westinghouse yet, but my brother was on the police force, so I actually went on the police force.
Okay.
Kind of him being on.
Right. So you joined the service because of a buddy, and you joined the police force because
we knew we was we knew we was going to have to go sometime.
Okay.
So we just decided to pick what we wanted to go in.
Were you glad that you picked the Air Force instead of the Marines after you got in?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I'd have probably still rather went in the Marines, but I was probably home a lot more by going into the Air Force.
I'm sure you were.
Because I had Joy with me most of the time out there.
Did you have any kids when you were in there?
I had both boys when we was in the service.
Okay.
Both of them matter of fact, both of them were born at March Air Force Base.
Okay.
California.
So then, when did you join the police force?
1957.
Okay.
I got out of the service in 55 and went to police force. You can see most of my records are burned up. I have very few records, except what I actually kept. Most of mine were burned up in a big fire there in 1974.
In St. Louis?
Yeah. They made a notation that
July 12th of
everything I requested was burned up.
Yeah, unfortunately, that burned a lot of records.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of World War II records, too. I didn't realize it burned. I should have realized it burned Korean records.
Yeah, it was a pretty good sized fire they had.
Did you ever have any reunions with any of the fellows that you served with?
One guy. We used to run around with one guy. Up until a few years ago, we used to get together with them up in New York, but it's been quite a few years. We still get a Christmas card every year. But
right. But as far as chit-chatting with anybody or anything?
No.
Would you like to?
Not necessarily.
Okay. And this looks like a ticket somebody wrote up. It says it's not permissible to park on railroad property.
We didn't really care.
So is that a ticket you got?
I don't know. I probably did it right.
Santa Fe?
Yeah, it was probably sent to me at the base.
Well, it didn't say anything except please discontinue this practice. It didn't say you have to. So when you joined the police force, where was the police station?
It was on 4th Street. It was an old stable, the old stables.
Okay. Was it behind where the current one is, or about the same spot? Where City Hall is, I guess.
You know the building they just tore down on the
Yes,
corner,
sir.
right across the alley.
Okay.
That's where the police station was, and then the fire department was right there beside it.
Okay. I've seen some pictures of that.
I got pictures of it.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you joined the police force, of course, your military training helped that, didn't it?
Not necessarily, really.
Didn't help you get on?
No. I took a test.
Okay.
Number 1 on the test, I got the job.
There you go.
Yeah. Of course, I had some briefing, you know, because, like I said, my brother, and I knew a lot of guys on the force.
Right.
But that didn't mean nothing. You took the test, and I'm not really sure if they had to take one of the top 3 or something like that.
Right. So what year was that? Probably?
1957.
Okay. So after you got out of
Yeah.
California, you came back.
I got another book on it.
Okay.
If you want to see it.
Yeah, I'll make sure. We'll make sure we get all that. So when you joined the force, did you know you'd stay there forever till you retired? Was that your plan?
Yeah, I figured when I went there, you know, I was thinking that that job I was going to retire from. Matter of fact, that's one of the few reasons you take that job. I think is on account of retirement.
Right.
Because it's not on account of anything else.
It's not on the account of you making friends, huh?
No.
Okay. So you started off. I mean, what was it like to be a police officer in Newark, Ohio, in 1957? I mean, were you in squad cars? Were you walking beats? Were you?
You just pretty much was on your own. You started out walking a beat. You maybe walking with somebody one night, and from then on, you was on your own. I know we had one guy come on. He came on. He walked with me 2 nights. The 3rd night, he found out he had to walk by himself, and he quit.
Was it that rough?
No, it was at night, and that was back when they shook doors and everything. He was in the alleys and bars and every place,
Right.
and he found out he had to be by himself, and he never came back.
I've never known anybody to walk a beat. So, can you tell me?
Back then?
Yeah, what hours it was, or what your beat would be, one.
In the daytime, they probably had a 1 beat man, maybe. They called him a beat man. He was more public relations. But you had, from 4 to midnight, you had what they called the north, south, and east side. And then you had what they called a short beat, but very seldom anybody ever walked. You didn't ever had enough. If you had enough men, you had a short beat.
Okay.
Now the south side was like from 4th Street, West Main Street, 4th Street, around the square, down to, I'm trying to think to tell you, there's down to 3rd Street.
Okay.
Let's say 3rd Street or 2nd Street.
Okay.
Or the old, let's say just down to the railroad tracks, maybe.
Okay.
And then the east side covered everything on the east side from the railroad tracks over to Locust Street, down to Railroad Street, all around to there. And then the north side covered like from maybe 2nd Street, 3rd Street, or 3rd Street, 2nd Street, down to 4th Street, or down around 4th Street, somewhere down through there. Then you had the short beat. If you got it, you walked from 5th Street down around part of the railroad tracks, north up around over the East Main Street on the railroad tracks, around Hudson Avenue. You had about enough time to walk at one time through the night, maybe a time and a half. You shook doors back then. I mean, you shook doors, and you didn't want to find a door open when you went off duty.
Like a business, just businesses?
Businesses, you shook every door.
Okay.
Check to make sure they's locked, no windows broke. And you didn't want to go off duty and have the owner come in and find your place been broke into.
Yeah. Well, but how long? I mean, your short beat you said it took you about once, but how long? Like one of the other beats. How long? How many times could you make
Oh,
that?
you could. It wasn't dependent on them. You could. You only had. You make them a couple times, but you just didn't make a constant. You could walk them any way you wanted to.
Okay. Just as long as you were checking them.
You know. And then back then you had two cruisers for the whole town. One was north end, one was south end. One was north and east and south and west. If you're lucky, you had two cruisers. I worked a New Year's Eve one night with three men on duty. We had a radio man and one man out walking and one man on a one-man cruiser.
Was Newark wild back then?
No, you had a lot of bars. I don't call it wild, but you had a lot of bars. The square was loaded with bars.
Okay.
Back then. You had the Park Bar and the Club 31 and Stag Bar and Natoma and Tally Ho Bar down at the old hotel, and you had a lot of bars.
Which is that the old Warden Hotel, or you're talking about the old hotel? Okay.
No, I'm talking about
Taft.
Taft Hotel.
Okay.
Actually, no, I'm not talking about the Taft Hotel either. I'm talking about a thing that was called the North Hotel. It was on South 2nd Street.
Okay.
And then you had the Warden, then you had the Taft where the old post office was over in there.
Right. Okay. So I was trying to get straight what hotel you were talking about. So so downtown was pretty lively.
Yeah, back then it was. Yeah, it was. Well, everything was downtown.
Right.
You had a bunch of. You had quite a few restaurants. You had the Tillman, Chatterbox, and Bisbee, and the arcade was pretty active at that time. You had a number. It was pretty full.
Did you have, when you were walking your beat, did you have some kind of radio with you?
You had call boxes if you was lucky. You had a call box. You probably had one. You had one. I know you had one at 2nd and the Square. You had about 4 call boxes around, and you were supposed to make a call every hour.
Check in.
You could check in. You didn't check in, then they was out looking for you. But we didn't have radios back then.
Right. I didn't think you did, but I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
When did you get radios? I mean, do you remember? I mean,
Oh man.
about
I
60s, late 60s.
can't even tell you when
Okay.
we did start getting the radios.
Just wondered. So you did your beat, and then did you finally get into a cruiser and not have to walk a beat?
Oh, normally you did.
Okay.
Like I said, it just depended if somebody quit or something. I mean, there wasn't too many. As a matter of fact, I was on midnight for 12 years.
So they were short-staffed then, just like they are now.
Yeah, I would. We were always short-staffed back then. Like I said, if we had 5 men working a night, we was doing good.
What?
We'd usually try to have 2 cruisers, 3 beat men, and then you have a desk sergeant and a captain. And that was it. And the captain, he very seldom got off his chair. And the desk man was radio man and everything.
Right, so he couldn't leave.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw you got the 22 caliber in here that was in the 70s, but up to before that, I know that was there anything, what was the...
I got the what in there?
22 caliber killers, Louis guns. But up until that, so you probably moved up, so were you a detective or
I
sergeant?
think I went in detectives in 1969.
Okay.
And then I just stayed. Was there most of the time. Matter of fact, I was in charge of the lab I was in charge of the lab and the polygraph for a while.
Where was the lab? Was it?
It was in downstairs of the police department. I don't know. You remember downstairs the police department?
In this one?
Yeah.
No, I was never in there.
Oh, no. I mean in the old one.
Oh no, I don't remember
Well, and I wouldn't be able to even tell you.
I
It
don't
was just
remember the old
it was
one,
just
though.
downstairs. In the downstairs, that was the police department.
Okay. I thought you were talking about the new what
No.
when police station was in the bottom of the new city hall, which I didn't realize isn't new anymore, but
Right. It's in the old downstairs, the old city hall, quarter fourth. Now,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can't remember that old one for anything.
Yeah. Well, when they built that, we was in. Let's see, we was in the 1 4th Street, the stables, and then we was moved around to different places. We was in a building, part of the corral building at one time, and just a makeshift thing. I think I got a picture in here of. Maybe I don't have either. Maybe I haven't. I think
The old building.
Yeah, I was thinking I had a picture of the old building, but I know I've got probably one somewhere. But there's the old building right there. It used to be a stables, actually. That's what I was told. Yeah, that's a picture.
Okay. So we had a couple motorcycle cops too.
Back then they had the old three-wheelers that did parking tickets on the square.
Okay.
And then they had, I think they had well, they had a couple Harley bikes at one time.
Where are you in that picture?
I'm not in that picture.
Oh.
My brother is, though.
Where's your brother?
Let's see.
Oh, that's right. You were still in the service then. So that's 52.
Right there's my brother.
Okay. Who are those distinguished looking men?
I'm not sure. That was a jury for some kind of a hanging one
Okay.
time, but I can't tell you the names or anything.
Okay.
I got the picture,
Okay, that would just be something for me to find.
but I have no idea.
What jury it was?
I couldn't tell you anything about it hardly.
Okay, so you've got a lot in here about the 22 caliber killers, the Lewingdons.
Not a whole lot in there about it.
Well, you got the book, and then I saw.
Yeah, mainly.
So you were on the force then when that happened,
Right.
when they killed the two women down at Forkers.
Right.
I remember that. That was pretty strange for Newark, Ohio.
Yeah, it was just like I said, it was a strange one.
Right.
It went around, and like I said, there were a lot of departments involved in that. The book's a good book, but exaggerates a few spots. But it's a good book.
Right.
Pretty accurate.
Were you on duty when that happened? Down at Forkers?
I was called in. We were all called in when that happened. It was a real bad cold night. I mean, freezing. And everybody just had certain jobs they started checking out.
Right. It was December, wasn't it?
I don't even remember what
Somebody
month
got
now.
sick
I
in
can tell you it was cold though.
Yeah.
And everybody just started checking different things, trying to find out something. That was the whole thing. And like I said, it just kept evolving and it was really hard to find out anything.
Now, I know Jones' murder was out in Grantville when they killed him.
Yeah.
And so, but did you guys go out to that at
No.
all to try to compare those?
I'm not sure if anybody went out there. I didn't go out there.
Okay. I didn't know if anybody tried to compare
No,
anything.
I didn't go out there.
Till Lincoln.
We had a few meetings with different places, but like I said, it was just kind of just an involved thing with everybody.
Well, because they were three different counties.
Yeah, they was in Lancaster and
Columbus.
they was just all over.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would have involved a lot different.
Yeah.
Was that the first murder had you been on any? Had there been any other murders in Newark?
I'm not really sure. I think Newark might have been the first, because I think they were living somewhere up around. They were living out there close off of James or Whitman out in somewhere, I think.
Was that the first murder you'd had to deal with on the police force?
Oh no, we had more murders, but they weren't anything famous you ever heard about.
They just disputes, family disputes, and things like that.
Yeah, somebody shooting a girlfriend, boyfriend, or something.
Okay. Sometimes we don't think of that being in Newark, a lot of that, but I know from looking at old newspapers that were.
Yeah, that's what most of them were.
So,
like I said, I was never involved in anything fantastic, you know.
well, this one was big.
Yeah.
That one,
it was kind of everybody was involved in it.
right? But that, I mean, I can remember my dad because he was working the dispatch then.
Yeah.
And he brought home pictures once of two guys that he said somebody told him did it, and showed them to me. And then they left the house, and that night I could hear creaking. And I was sure I was a dead man. But anyway, it wasn't those two guys. It wasn't the Louis.
Your dad probably had as much information as I did.
Well, he wasn't right.
Yeah.
So he just did enough to scare me.
Yeah.
All right. So in your career, how far did you move up?
Just a sergeant.
Just a sergeant.
Yeah. Like I said,
You sound like everybody's just like that's everybody on the police force.
You didn't have too many promotions back then because somebody had to die or quit.
Right.
I mean, really. And as the department got bigger, they added a few sergeants and things. But like I said, back then, everybody came on about the same time, so somebody had to die or quit to get a promotion.
Okay. What is there any other case that sticks with you like that 22 caliber one, or any other that?
Not really anything big like that.
Nothing you really remember that you think?
Nothing that really sticks out. You know, fantastic.
Right. Okay. Let me flip back to this a little bit. So what's this picture in front of Texaco? I see a Texaco sign.
Oh, I went to a meeting with the chief of police one time. We had a meeting over there and took a picture of everybody.
Who was the chief then?
I think it was Spurgeon then.
Okay.
Charles Spurgeon.
It helps I put on my glasses.
Well, let's see which one.
That's Westmore Avenue.
Yeah,
a body?
that was a guy who traveling through, and he dumped a body there. He'd been picked up I think he was picked up hitchhiking, and he ended up killing the people, and I think they ended up picking him up out in New Mexico or someplace.
Was he driving? Was the guy in a van?
Yeah, it was called back then. It had one of them funny names to it. I might even have it wrote down in one of those.
Yeah, because I think
yeah,
there were two girls
right.
at the time that I think were riding with him and
Right.
riding with the body, and they ended
Right.
up because they were friends with Mom, and they ended up in our house.
Yeah.
It's like I ended up all these killers
Yeah.
stories at my house.
Yeah, the body had been laying out there for quite a while when we got the call. And then, like I said, the guys, I think they were picked up he was picked up out in New Mexico, Arizona, somewhere.
And then they just kept the body on the van or something until they
Yeah.
got here and dumped it.
Well, I think they actually picked him up in New York or someplace. Like I said, that's been a long time ago.
Oh yeah, because then here's another thing where Forkers was robbed. That you're talking to somebody, so that's different than the 22s.
That was Buck Porter and a little girl by the name of Patty Metz and another guy. We picked them up. They robbed it, and we went to Columbus. Actually, we had a few tips on them, and we went to Columbus and didn't find them. We was getting ready to come back to Newark and found them walking around the bus station. Spotted them down there and caught them both.
Where was the bus station though?
Oh man!
Sorry.
In Columbus. Whew.
Oh, in Columbus, the Columbus bus
Columbus.
station. I thought you meant here.
No, we had one here. It was on Church Street, right there where Christie's piece is. Now.
Okay.
It was right there.
All right. And then are these?
Those are just old policemen.
I was gonna say, I see Art Nutter in there.
Right.
So these are guys did you serve with these fellas?
No, those
Those are
are
even Art Nutter.
yeah. That was no wait. That was Art Nutter's dad.
Oh, okay.
I think that's Art Nutter. That was Art Nutter Senior.
Okay.
No, those were old guys. I mean, they were.
Oh, 1933. There, I
Yeah.
found the date.
Yeah, I was only.
Well, yeah, you weren't. You're just confusing me, which isn't hard to do.
I'm probably 5 years old.
And then is this Captain Ralph Hunter, and there's a Ralph Hunter in that? Would that be then his dad?
No, that's the same Ralph Hunter.
Okay, that's the same one.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure.
Now, these other clippings, are these things you were involved in?
Probably most of them.
John Spears. Yeah, Patrolman William Comisford was on the stand for 2 hours about a battery that Spears and his 17-year-old brother-in-law done.
Yeah, I lost that case.
See,
No,
Virginia-
I didn't lose the case.
Yeah, you didn't lose
The
it.
prosecutor lost
Right.
it. I had the guy dead rights. I had him dead to it, and I don't know if there's people think Virginia Weiss was his attorney.
That's what you've got.
She'll tell you the prosecutor lost the case. He was guilty. She'll tell you he was guilty. Well, she's dead now, but
Yeah.
yeah, she would tell you he was guilty. I think it was 2 days later he broke into her office.
Really?
Something like that.
Well, that tottered.
Yeah, it wasn't too long after she got him out of that. She got a hung jury on it, and then he broke into her office right after that.
And then this guy stops in and asks you if there's any bootleg liquor joints in town operated by white people.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but probably.
So you got crazy questions back then too.
Oh yeah.
So you remember all the I don't want to say eccentric people. in New York.
Winos.
Like old Orville.
Orville. Yeah, I knew Orville real good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just knew him real good.
Yeah, I
Matter
mean-
of fact, he was in the county home for one. My brother had the county home. He was in the county home for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. We took him out to, what was George Campbell? He came in town one night and George took him out I think to the county home. Time George got back, he'd beat George back to town.
I can't remember Orville's last name.
Ryan.
Ryan. Okay. I couldn't remember what that was. One time he aimed a pistol at me, so then started laughing as I hit the deck because he said there ain't no firing pin in it. It's like, well, I didn't know there's no firing pin in it. Crazy. Was there any other stories or anything? What's that? It's like,
That was before I went on the police department. That's my brother.
okay.
That's Bob Cass.
Okay. It looks like the village.
There was some kind of celebration they was having. That's when everybody had I think, has he got a beard?
Yeah.
Everybody would go over. It was for, I think it was for the centennial. I was there
Okay.
at that time. That picture right there, I think that was taken in 1973.
Mm-hmm.
There's 63 policemen on there, and 38 of them are dead. Matter of fact, one just died Saturday.
Who was that?
Ron Scott.
Okay. And so we talked the other day when Scott Comisford sitting here too, when his other grandpa was in that he took after singing, but now from one grandpa and he took after the police from you.
Not too smart, is he?
How many years did you have in on the police force?
I had about a little over 23 when I had a heart attack and went on disability.
So that's why you quit.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't let me go back.
Would you have liked to have if that wouldn't have happened, do you think?
Not
Or
necessarily. That's when things were getting kind of goofy anyway.
you were done.
Yeah. Like I said back then, you'd arrest somebody, and before you got the report wrote, they'd be out of jail. So it was starting to get kind of. But we still didn't have computers back then.
Well, no. Well, I appreciate you taking time to talk to us, Bill. I know you didn't want to do it, but
I couldn't tell you really much of anything.
what you tell us is a history of Newark, and people love to listen to it, and they love to know what used to be here and that sort of thing. And
Well, a lot of people don't believe a lot of stuff. Like I said, I can remember one New Year's Eve, we worked the whole town, 3 people, radio man and 1 cruiser.
You were busy.
Imagine on New Year's Eve.
Right. Like you say, I'm sure you were busy.
Yeah.
All right. I know this is probably a dumb question, but I'm gonna. Are things how do things compare now in Newark? I mean, Newark's bigger, but as far as to you in your mind with the crime and everything as compared to back then.
Oh, I wouldn't have any idea.
Okay.
I know one thing that I don't believe in the way they're doing with drugs, man. Like what they're going to have a vote on. Stupid. You can't tell me drugs don't affect our minds.
Right. You've seen it.
I've seen it in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And it's just been proven, and yet you get so much. I think half your people voting, half your people up there putting the bills through are probably smoking it. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think they look at it as a tax revenue. It's like, well, if you make everything legal that's a tax revenue, then you might as well legalize most stuff people are doing.
Yeah, I've got a bad opinion. Most people don't want my opinion.
I do. I think the problem is our opinions. I think a lot of people have our opinions, Bill, but I just don't think we get heard.
Just don't listen to them.
Yeah. Now this is your brother, Homer?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was on the police department, and then he left there in 1960 and was in charge of the county home, superintendent of the county home.
Is there anything else you want to tell us?
Anything?
You probably told me more than you wanted to tell.
Yeah, probably. I won't tell you anything else, get in trouble.
I don't want you releasing any secret documents.
I can't tell. Like I showed you the paper. I showed you the secret. I said it.
Showed me as much as you could.
No, I showed you all I know.
Right. Would it be all right if I kept these and made some copies of it to add to the file so that people can see?
You can, but it's not a very good picture.
Well, there's some good pictures in here, and this one will copy through okay. But like I say, especially some of these older pictures of things. So that'd be okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I say, I appreciate you coming in.
Anyway, we had flight line flags on the Jeeps. Stick way up so the planes could see us.
Sure.
When we was, cruising in around them. And of course, those planes, they'd come in from everywhere. And I was riding around out there, and I'm not kidding you, one time there was a tarantula on the ground about that big. I mean, he was big. We drove by him, I pulled that flight line flag out, and I hit him with it. And he just went rolling, probably from here to the wall over there. When he stopped rolling, he turned around and hit it right for the Jeep.
Oh, jeez.
And right towards, we just put a gear in over top of him, sounded like a gun going off when we hit him. I mean, it didn't sound like that to other people, but
right.
to us.
Wow.
But that was the first time I ever seen one. He might not have been as big as I'm saying, but he was.
Well, if he made
big.
That kind of noise, you think.
But, yeah, ran over him, just made a big popping sound.
You didn't have too much trouble with those anymore.
Is that my paper there?
Yes, sir. That's that letter.
Don't tell you nothing. Only tells you 12 days of uncertified information. They made you sign papers like similar to this one here, telling you if you said anything at all, if you even talked, you're going to jail for 10 years without a trial.
How long was that binding? Or was it, did it say for 10 years or 20 years or just don't say anything?
Like for 10 years.
Okay.
Like I said, I tried to get information on this. That's all I could get. That's all I could get for the whole squadron. For, like I said, we're talking Turk here, and like I said, it gave you 16th of June to the 30th of June. All they gave you of unclassified. It was unclassified. The rest of it still classified.
As I was saying, we're 60 years past that. So it makes you wonder what you were doing out there if it's still classified, doesn't it?
I know part of what I was doing. But
Well, don't tell me anything. I don't want you to get in trouble.
knew just they let you know just enough. But yeah, like I say, it was secret.
Were you ever concerned about being around all that atomic stuff?
No, you didn't think
health
much,
concerns,
you
right?
didn't really think much about it then.
And they weren't telling you,
No, you didn't know how much of it was around anyway, really.
unless you started glowing in the night, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, clear back then, we didn't even have electric when we was out there. We had everything set up with generators.
Really?
Oh yeah, that's where I lost my hearing, really. We had generators half as big as this room that would just do all our power.
Wow. Seems weird. So that hurt your hearing, being around those things hammering all the time?
Yeah, part of it. And other things.
Did you notice that, your hearing, like when you got back, that it was worse?
Never noticed it too much until it just kind of grew. Now I take my hearing aids out, I'm deaf.
Are you?
Aren't I?
It is. Surprised you didn't take them out halfway through.
Yeah, me too.
Just sit there.
I am too. Well, like I say, if you don't mind me keep holding on to these and making copies,
Yeah.
I mean, I can make copies while you're here if you want to sit here while I do it,
Yeah, I'll just
or if
pick
you
it
trust
up.
me.
I'll trust you.
Okay. Because like I say, I want to make sure I put those in your file and that.
Otherwise I'll send Scott after you.
Yeah, he knows where I am. All right. Well, you're free to go.
How long you gonna need them?